Football in Asia is still some way behind football in Europe and South America, but it is still growing and has produced a number of fine players. But many may be unfamiliar with a man who is considered the greatest footballer Asia has ever produced. Lee Wai-tong was a Hong Kong-born Chinese striker who across a stunning 25-year career netted well over 1,000 goals, as well as sweeping up a plethora of silverware. This is the story of Lee Wai-tong, Asia's football king. Lee Wai-tong was born in Hong Kong on the 16th of October 1905. He moved to China with his family when he was 4, and later went on to briefly work with his father's construction company. He developed his footballing skills as a child in any way he could, often playing with oranges and grapefruits as well as a bag of sand, which helped him get the nickname Iron Foot. In 1922, he signed for the South China Athletic Association, a top-flight Hong Kong team. He was called up to the senior side the next year and also got his first international cap. His hat-trick against Japan in the Far Eastern Championship Games truly put him on the map. China won the tournament and Tong was considered the breakout star. China would tour Australia later that year, with Tong continuing his fine form, with a hat-trick in his opening game being the start of him ending up the top scorer of the tour. Upon his return to club football, he helped South China to a Hong Kong League title. He gathered even more silverware for China when in 1925 they retained their Far East Championship title, the second of what would prove to be 5 in a row, and Tong would be present for all of them. It was the beginning of a golden era for China, as between 1923 and 1936 they did not lose a competitive game of football. Tong spent time playing for Lohua, a university team from Shanghai, whilst coaching the Fudan University team as well. Lee described his time in Shanghai as unforgettable, before he returned to South China in 1931, where he continued his domestic success. In 1936, China were preparing to compete in the Olympics for the first ever time. However, the Chinese government would only provide some of the financial support needed to enter, and so the Chinese side had to play in 27 exhibition matches to raise the funds needed. They won 23 of these games and drew the other 4, going through the whole tour undefeated. They received the money required, but as a result of the exhibition matches, the Chinese squad were exhausted. China would fall at the first hurdle with a 2-0 defeat to Great Britain. Tong, however, impressed in his appearance as captain and nearly got a big move. Arsenal would inquire about Tong's services and seriously considered signing him. Unfortunately, they opted against the transfer due to him now being 31 years old. French side Red Star also offered Tong a trial, but Tong would turn it down, deciding to remain in South China. Tong's career was largely interrupted by the Second Sino-Japanese War and the Second World War. Tong initially continued playing, but stopped after Hong Kong was occupied by Japan. He joined the Chinese army and often took part in exhibition games to raise money for the war effort. He returned to South China once again after the war and continued playing for them until 1948, when he was 43 years old. Upon his retirement, he had won a grand total of 8 Hong Kong top-flight titles with South China. Tong was immediately appointed coach of the Chinese national team that year and prepared them for the 1948 Olympics in London. He would pay for a training course in Thailand and the Philippines out of his own pocket. Unfortunately, they were out at the first round again, losing 4-0 to Turkey. China entered a civil war that prevented Tong from coaching for several years, but he returned to coach the Republic of China team at the 1954 Asian Games. They would win gold, defeating South Korea in the final, and did the same again 4 years later. He combined this work with his position as Secretary General of the Asian Football Confederation, and in 1965 he became the Vice President of FIFA. In 1976, a West German football magazine named their 5 greatest footballers of all time, and on the list were Pelé, Stanley Matthews, Alfredo Di Stefano, Ferenc Puskás, and Asia's football king Lee Wai-tong. Lee Wai-tong died on the 4th of July 1979 at the age of 73. He remains held in high regard across Asian football, and whilst it is hard to completely evaluate his ability, he was a shining light in a Chinese side, helping them to new heights as both a player and a manager, as he picked up a huge amount of honours at club and international level. His legacy stands strong, with a 25-year career amassing him a reported 1,260 goals. For this, Lee Wai Tong will forever remain Asia's football king.